hey, two, hey, one, hey, two, hey, three, hey, four, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho. Everybody get up. Ho, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho. Everybody get up. Everybody get up. I said, everybody get up. Everybody get up. I said, everybody get up.
Welcome to Actors from the Dark Side. I'm Ladios Muhammad, actor with purpose.
And I'm Raven Moon, an actor with passion.
And today we have a special guest. Today's topic is...
Who is our guest?
Our guest is... Well, we don't want to talk about... Who is our guest? What's your name?
Hi there, my name is Matahji Ameen.
Yes. And she is our young guest today who is going to discuss images on TV and film from a young adult's perspective. And so, Matahji, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, where you come from, who you are?
Oh, okay. So, I'm originally from Colorado. This actually happens to be my mother here, so say hi.
Hi!
I'm a current student success coach, so I help young or various age groups go back and get their high school diploma, which I love my job, so just kind of just living the life and growing and prospering. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your background, like your ethnic background. Tell us about that.
Oh, okay. So I identify as Black Latina. My mother obviously is African American, and my father, he's half Black, half Mexican. So
Yep.
that's how I identify.
Nice. You got any hobbies you like to do?
I love hiking. I love playing volleyball. I also love shopping and just hanging out with my friends and family.
Yeah.
Anything doing that. So.
Cool. So you went to CSU, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And one of your degrees is in ethnic studies?
Yes, ethnic studies with a concentration in multicultural media, and then I received another degree in journalism and media communications.
Right. So, and one of our topics today is about images on TV and film from a young adult's perspective, and we want to discuss like from you coming up as a child into teenage, into young adults, and we'll cover some of the stuff that was on TV, and did you identify with anything, and do you see anything different, and coming from being a Black Latina, what does that look like for you?
Okay.
All right. Any questions you have for her to start off with?
Not right off the bat, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I did a little bit of research. Now, I did some... Why are you smiling?
I'm just waiting.
Like this big old cheesy grin. So I did a little bit of research, and I was just looking up some of the 1990s, but it was kind of still... I was still kind of...
early 2000s?
Yeah, this was like in the 1990s, but they went into the late 90s. I don't know. Do you remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Mm-hmm. All right, Living Single, A Different World, Family Matters, Sister, The Wayans Brother, Moesha,
Yes.
The Proud Family,
Yep.
Steve Harvey,
Yep.
Kenan and Kel. Oh, okay. Smart Guy,
Yep.
Cosby's,
Yes.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
No.
No, okay, there you go. That was like 1992. That was pre-you.
Oh, yeah.
In the House.
That word.
In the House.
Uh,
That was like the year you
I
was
feel
born.
like maybe.
The
I
Parenthood.
know of it, maybe.
No.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
Between Brothers.
Yes.
City Guys.
Yes.
Wayne Head. That's it. Hey, Moni.
No.
Good News.
No.
The Hughleys.
Yes.
South Central. Sinbad. My Brother and Me.
No.
Our Own.
No.
704 Hauser.
No.
And Good Behavior. Okay, but you got the. So those were some of the. But pick up one or two of those sitcoms and tell me, what did you identify in that particular in those? These are like the greatest Black sitcoms of the 1990s.
Oh.
But then we'll go into more of the Disney TV shows, and then we want to talk about like, do you see yourself enough, and are those images positive or negative, and do you think we still have a long way to go? How are you, has it changed since you came through? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'll start with first portion. I guess the first ones that pop out to me are Sister Sister, Smart Guy, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think those, I would say, were great representations of just family and having a, like, it would also provided, like, different avenues of where Black individuals can go through, especially as they go through college or if they're going through certain hobbies that predominantly are within the white community. So it was actually pretty nice seeing those. Obviously, I'm a little older now, so I don't know what childhood TV shows look like now. But as I've gotten older, I would say I've seen a mixture of both positive and negative representations of Black women, and also not enough representation of when it comes to different shades of Black women as well.
Yeah. So when you say different shades, elaborate on that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I would say, like, Sister Hit Sister, for example, like, those were light skin mixed biracial girls, which is great, like, for someone like me, but also, like, I don't feel like it showed a lot of representation, even just thinking about their friends. Like, none of their friends were dark skinned that I could think of.
Ah, that's interesting. Wow, I never made that connection. Never, ever. That's interesting. All right, keep going.
And so I can't really remember Smart Guy, but even living single, like, I really love living single, and I just did a lot of, when I was going through my undergrad, I did a lot of colorism work. And so I know one of the characters in Living Single, she was just portrayed, although she was like a successful lawyer, she was also portrayed very masculine versus the other three light-skinned women. They were a lot less, they were more feminine, and they have great jobs, but they also were able to present their femininity.
You're reminding me of a meme that went around recently, and it really broke my heart because most of the people that were sharing it were young African-American males, but it was basically a colorism kind of spectrum of really light woman, but it's the same basically face, and then she slowly gets darker and darker, and all these people were posting, how to tell level of education from, and how to tell if she's going to be a cool chick that you can kick it with, and all of these very negative things that come with that kind of colorism thinking, right?
Yeah.
You know, Ladia's brought up Power recently, and the Latin American, when she's in a love scene, you know, it's super romantic and soft lights, but when he's with his wife, a dark African American, it's rough and, you know, always from behind and all of that. So there's definitely a difference in depiction. I know we were going to talk a little bit about, like, the Oval, and here you have
that will be in our second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch
get
on
into
that.
But I was just thinking about how often Black women go into, get depicted as, I don't know, being more capable of going into violence, if you will. That we're the ones that you're dangerous to get with us because we might lose our shit and who knows what'll happen. Kind of, we get depicted in that way a lot. Have you seen any of that being in your early 20s? You know, like in terms of images in movies or on TV shows where you're like, oh man, I'm not like that. You know, like I don't fly up like, you know, like, where you can't even, not so much not relate, but it's almost like, you know, it's a fictional depiction because it's so over the top, if you will, you know?
Actually, we could just tie all this in.
We should,
we should
absolutely,
just tie it in because I think it is good. We'll just tie it all in.
Okay. I'm trying to think of any shows because I'll admit, like, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I love reality TV shows.
Oh, high five, sister. We're just like, it's so funny, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Two African-American Latinas that are, you know, but my mother's Hispanic, and my
and a
father
switch.
was. Yes, exactly. So we have the switcheroo. But yeah, I'm. That's what I tell audios all the time. Like, girl, I ain't watching that stuff with writing. I like a highly a high level of improv called reality TV.
Yeah.
That's just as directed, but it's no script.
Exactly. It's very entertaining.
So entertaining.
She tried to draw me into it, and there was one time I was like, I would come home from work. She's like, okay, let's start, and I started getting caught onto it, and I was like, I can't. I just can't.
It does
I
make
can't.
you feel icky.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't.
It's a guilty pleasure. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
hate it, but it's also like, oh.
But
Sure.
it's entertaining, and I guess now you're starting to see more, and we're tying this all in on images. You're starting to see more blacks in lead roles, and we'll talk about the flip side at the end to bring
Sure.
it into a positive light.
Sure.
But these people are making a living, right? This
Right.
is how they make a living. So they got to be
Exactly.
entertaining,
Yeah.
but they are being still stereotyped in a certain
And
light.
before we move on from the reality TV, one thing that I do enjoy about it is where you will see sometimes African American families that are living well, doing well for themselves,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
this ghetto depiction and blah, blah, blah. Sure, that might be out there, but it's not typical. And it's like, oh, this is what real America is. This is what real black America is. And it isn't this downtrodden, shooting each other bullshit, that we see on a lot of the...
I would say even just from watching some of those shows, like I have been able to support more black businesses, specifically
Yes.
black female businesses.
Yes.
So take it how you want it, but I think just going off of representation, like yes, there's maybe some scenes that may be a little ghetto, but I'll just say like Real Housewives of Atlanta, like you see
Yes.
these black females
that got money.
and are setting up their businesses.
Yep.
Like Candy, like oh my gosh,
Yeah, they're doing
kudos
well.
out to you. You're kicking butt.
That's
like,
right. That's right. So that is one sector of the entertainment thing that I love in terms of black Americans and black females, right? Is that in reality TV you kind of get to get the wool kind of pulled off from your shades or whatever you say, however you say that, Bruce.
Yeah. The wool's from your eyes.
See,
The
thank
wool's from
you.
your eyes. Pull the wool over your eyes.
And get to see what real black people are living like. Like there's a show that I'm really excited about that's coming on Stars.
Okay.
It's called P-Valley. And
Yes!
it's an all-black cast.
Yes!
But oh my God, it makes me feel icky the way that reality TV makes you feel icky because I don't like seeing black people hardcore, fucking gangster, like out to get theirs and all of that.
I'm
I'm
looking
looking
that
forward to it, but I just hate that depiction because I know how much it feeds into the miseducation of America. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why, they think we're a threat because they see shows like that and it's like, oh, that's how they're all living.
But, so what? And there was a couple other ones. I know you. So
Moesha.
Moesha, what did you think about Moesha?
I loved Moesha
That
growing
was
up.
good.
Like I remember watching it after school, like excited about it. And again, that family dynamic, they presented a black family, a strong family, and talked about multiple avenues based off of race, sex, just I think they may have touched on gender, maybe, but also just like life in general, which I really enjoyed.
Sure. Do you think pre-Obama, I kind of sometimes think this, that kind of the sitcoms that we were getting pre-Obama were actually super positive for the black community in terms of educated black people, heartfelt black people, people that really cared about their families. Those were the days of Urkel, the days of, you did have Smart Guy and those kind of things that, I don't know if, because I don't watch, we have Blackish, and Blackish is wonderful.
Right.
But really, that's the
else?
only thing that there is right now for us, you know?
And
So that's kind of sad to me.
Yeah, like I would agree with that because even thinking today, like I can't think of like any prominent show. Like I even remember watching Girlfriends.
Yes.
I loved Girlfriends.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that whole UPN channel, like Eve, all that, like those are really great shows. And then all of a sudden they're gone. And then if you do have shows, you have them on BT. And I just have
Me too.
Talk about
Yeah.
it. Talk about it. We want to get into that. You gotta, what's that? What's that mean? You gotta what?
I have a mixed emotions about BET. Like,
Okay.
I love the dynamic of the principle of what is based on.
Yes.
I also feel like there are certain avenues that they have continuously projected out into the Black community
Yep.
Yes.
that have been negative, and
Absolutely.
also have just like going back to what you're saying, like gangster, like
Yep.
hardcore Black,
Keeping
dark
people in
skinned
their boxes, if you
females,
will.
like
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just keeps people in the boxes rather
Mm-hmm.
than let's explore this avenue. Like, why are our shows like Scandal presented on ABC versus BT?
Sure. Absolutely.
Very good. And
Absolutely.
so you mean they kind of streamline what they want to project us as, but they're still negative.
Yes.
In a negative spot. Even though they're putting Black people to work and they're in lead roles, they're still projected on this TV show
In a stereotypical
way. Now, Sisters. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to watch Sisters on OWN TV.
No.
I think it's on OWN. No. Wait, yeah, I think it's on OWN, or it might be BT.
Tyler Perry.
Which one is it?
I think it's
Mr. King,
BT.
is it BT, Sisters, or is it OWN?
BET.
Okay. Now, Sisters is a positive light. That's about 4 women, and it's equivalent to Girlfriends. It's also equivalent to Sex and the City. And it talks about their different struggles in different ways. All the women are professionals, from banker to lawyer to, well, there is one. There's always a comedic role in every last.
Is she a dark skinned woman?
Yeah, she
Or
is
is
a
she
dark
big?
and she's thick.
Yeah,
Yep, she's thick and a dark skinned
That's
woman.
Stereotype.
But there's 2 of them that are full figured, and she's not like fat big. She's curvy big, and so so she's kind of like the comic relief that we mentioned last time.
Yeah.
But it is a good show. You got to understand, like, you don't want just when you're watching a show, you still want to be entertained. You want to be entertained. So to have something so this is just the way it is and have all these perfect, it's not going to be realistic. I mean, you got to think about it. How many of your friends are all skinny? And how many of your friends are all like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we come in all shapes and sizes. So I think what I like about that Tyler Perry, is that he broke the mold that we have to be these really thin size 0, size 3 women. So her being big does not really bother me. But like I said, all of the women have, one's like a business owner. She owns her hair shop now. And the one who's big and the comic relief, she works at an airline place. But they're all professionals and they all have like this background story. So that is kind of here on TV. And also Queen Sugar. Okay, have you seen Queen
yeah.
Sugar? Okay. So what do you think about that? I mean, when you're breaking down that from a young adult's perspective, is that kind of breaking in some of that molds or putting Black people in positive images?
I think it's reality. I think I'd rather have a story that touch on multiple sections of what it means to be Black, because there's a duplicity of when, at least in my mind, there's a duplicity of being Black. You're Black in the community, and then you're Black outside the community, and that can look 2 different ways. And so I think
Talk about that before you go forward. Like, break that down.
the duplicity.
Yeah, the duplicity.
Yeah. Well, I think just from based off conversations and even just from what I've interacted with, is just like when you're interacting, or let's say going for a job interview, you're not gonna be like, yeah, da 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 da. Like your mannerisms, your speech is completely different when you're interacting with people outside of your own community.
So you code switch.
Yeah.
Do you code switch?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, do you know what code switching is?
I know what it is, but I don't know if that's exactly it. Like, I was talking.
What is code switching? So
Well, basically, that's just switching how you are in.
I don't switch who I am completely.
One way,
no,
like
but
you
no.
present one thing to one group and then present another
Yeah.
to another group.
So, like, when you're around your Black friends, yeah.
But personally, regardless, when I'm with my friends, I'm more laid back.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
cuss more. I don't have to
Exactly.
be polished. If I go into a job interview, I am going to be polished. I've been preparing. I've been working up for it. Like I was saying, one of the things that like the gay community has a benefit of is that, in the morning they can butch it up or, whatever it is to go for that interview. Whereas I can't put on different skin. They're still going to see me as a Black person at that job interview. And it behooves me to go into the white world and let them know, I know your rules. I know your expectations versus going in there and acting like you don't. Because if you want the job, you're going to have to conform to their expectations and their standards, because that's just America and capitalism. capitalism, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to play somewhat of a game because we don't get to control this world. We aren't the ones at the top, and we don't get to have our sacred spaces. That's part of segregation, right? Is that the hottest joint in the place would be the juke joint, and black people could turn around all these white teenagers that are coming to get down, you know, but they could turn us away from their restaurants. They could turn us away and get the police involved and all of that. So that's where we, like when they say that comment that black people can't be racist, that's what they're talking about, because we don't have the police, we don't have the control and the power to put the hammer down on the white race. Like they have the power to do that to us. So I don't know if it's code switching. I don't want to put that negative term on it, because that's just kind of conforming.
Anybody who goes into a job interview should be polished.
Yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, once you get into the job, are you still code switching? We're talking about once you're in it. Are you still code switching?
No.
Okay.
But
so
is it code switching to go to my job and be professional and clean?
I'm not talking about.
And,
I want you to understand.
Not the way that I'd be on the street.
What is code switching?
How about you
why don't you
define
just
it?
let's
define it for us?
Okay,
You
and
define it for us.
That's what I was saying when I asked you earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me what you understand code switching is, because I'm not talking
It's
about.
a pretty new term for me. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
you
So
please
code
describe
switching is like, because that's when you were saying the duplicity of being in your community in one way. So, we have since the George Floyd happened at our job, they made groups. They made them for black people, people of color, and white people to deal in a safe space about dealing with this structural racism. And in our group, there's a couple of biracial black Latinas in there. And they said, I have code switched. I code switch at work. There's a couple of sisters who's light skinned and they code switch. They act white. They present themselves like really articulate. But then they get with us and they're just like, they take off the mask. Basically, you have on this mask. We're not talking about professionalism. You could still be professionalism and be yourself. But the code switching is when you say, when I get around a whole bunch of white people, I'm not saying like you can't use your regular voice. I'm saying you lose your voice. You start to be them and not yourself.
This is where
Say it again, Mr. King. Hold on one second.
Act like them.
You act like them. You're not me. Okay, and wait, let me elaborate. So I don't code switch.
Okay.
Okay. I went into my interview professionally, but when we had a group and it was white people and they were talking about, we went and we protest with, they were talking, some white people. We went and protest for the George Floyd. And so I'm listening and they're asking everybody their opinion. And then so I said, you know what, that's cute. This is exactly how I said it. I said, that's cute. That's cute what you did. I said, but where the fuck was you? I use those exact words. Where the fuck was you when Sandra Bland was there? When Tavion Martin was there? What the fuck you doing? I said, we don't need no more allies. We need accomplices. And I said, so therefore, that's cute what you doing, but you ain't really doing nothing. You doing that because you feel guilty. That's what I'm talking about. I wasn't code switching. I was showing them this is Latios. They all know this is Latios. I still deal with them professionally. I don't talk crazy, but I said what I said. Okay. So when you're code switching, you are really conforming and trying to integrate into their world.
Okay.
And so the duplicity of when we were elaborating on that, when you have one way with your community and one way with another community outside of the community, are you code switching during that time?
And can I just elaborate on something?
No, okay,
as a person that doesn't have a community, right? Being, like I said, growing up this dark in a Hispanic home, I wasn't accepted at home. I wasn't accepted, I wasn't black enough, I wasn't Mexican enough, I wasn't any enough, so I was always kind of on the outskirts.
Right.
And due to that, I have friends that are just whoever would accept me at the time. So I do have a group of white friends, I do have groups of black friends, I don't change my speak. I don't change how I act around them, but at work, yes. I am, if I'm at the office, no, I am to myself. I keep my mouth shut. I stay on my task. I stay focused. And if it's, yes, what do you need, sir? Yes, and what do you need? And that might be to you code switching, but to me, that's being professional and just living up to the standards of what the corporate world expects of you, right? To go in there, work
I'm not
your
talking about
nose to the
professionalism.
grindstone.
I'm not
kind
talking
of
about
thing.
What about outside of, okay, so what if we frame it in a way of like saying, outside of work,
Yeah.
if you're around like a whole group of white people,
Yeah.
are you gonna be
Yeah, I'm still
normal
the
Reagan?
same.
Or
Yeah,
are you gonna
absolutely,
be like,
because I'm still like this articulate person. It's like I'm very authentic. And I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Not everybody is like that. Not
So I
everybody is
wasn't,
authentic.
this wasn't directing at
Oh,
you
no,
personally.
I'm just saying that
Right.
that's the difference. Is
Okay.
sometimes people have that community to come to and come from, and they do put on different faces. That's what I'm saying. Is that
Exactly.
I do get that point, is that a lot of people don't know how to be authentic and will put on a different shade and a different mask for whoever they're trying to fit in with, especially the black person that doesn't feel like, or feels like they have to, I don't know, achieve some standard to get their white people to like them, kind of thing, if you will, kind of thing, to be extra.
They won't be intimidated
Yeah, exactly.
or like, oh, she's too aggressive or this, that, and the other.
Exactly. So I do get that.
Okay, so we are clear on code switching, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because we're talking about images, and so when we have these certain images of how we're projected to be, that does affect you and how you navigate through this thing called life, especially in white America, don't you think?
Sure.
So
and that's the duplicity I was
yeah.
trying to say.
So
Mhm.
I don't see it as code. I think it's a portion of code switching, but I don't see it specifically towards that.
Interesting.
Okay.
But going off of your original question, no, I think when I was younger I did, and it was more within like the Black and Latino community because you want to fit in, and also you're just like, and you're getting that pushback like, oh, you're not black enough, or you have different hair, you're not, you just can't fit in, and then the same thing with the Latin, you're like, oh, you don't speak Spanish,
Right.
you don't know what you're doing, and
that's your
yeah.
fault.
Being
I tried to teach you
biracial,
Spanish, right?
being biracial is a different struggle.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't understand. That never enough kind of feeling that your community inadvertently gives you, because they don't mean to. It's not like anybody's wanting to make you feel that way. But at the end of the day, the comments about the hair, oh, you got that good hair, and like those kind of things. It's like, but cousin, come on.
but yeah, I think now, no, because I just don't care.
Yeah.
So, and
yeah,
you know who
absolutely.
you
I know who I am.
And
Yeah.
who are you? Who
Yes.
is Matahji Ameen? Who is she?
To define her, I guess she's an independent, selfless, self-aware individual who is learning and growing every single day.
Now we're gonna come right back and Hi, all you wonderful people. I'm Ladius Muhammad, actor with purpose. We are promoting black businesses here today. Look at this beautiful satchel that was made by Amisha with Royalty Blends. She made this satchel for me as my bunny, my pet last year. Tika Amala died and transitioned. So she has anointed it and made this beautiful satchel to promote healing, spiritual healing, and peace of mind. If you are interested in any of her products, you can go to Royalty Blends. She does teas, tinctures, specialty blends, and items like these. Thank you so much for coming back. We're back here, part 2. So we have Matahji Ameen, of course, Raven and myself, and we're talking about images in TV and film from a young adult's perspective. So,
Real quick, I have another question for Natasha.
Matahji.
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 Yeah, there you go. I needed my hearing aid.
That's okay.
It's sad. And you always call her T, so that's what. Yeah.
Or Taji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, tell me again what your job is.
I'm a student success coach. So
Okay.
essentially like similar to a student academic coach, but we also work with students outside of school as like their life's coach.
Okay. What would you say is the main demographic of the kids that you work with, and do you think they're affected by social kind of images, and where do you think that influence is mostly coming from?
So I primarily work with adults, so 18
okay.
and up. So 18
that's
to like
interesting.
65. And my primarily demographics, they're primarily Black and Latino,
Nice.
and maybe like a small of white.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So, but I think, I would say like I think everyone is affected.
Yeah.
But I feel like the older generation, they're like, this is, especially if it comes to like the George Floyd situation, like this is something that's not new to them, is what I'm getting a sense of. And it's also like even when I have them share stories with me, they're like, you would think like this would be over with, but I was like, I'm so sorry you have to experience something like that. And they're like, I've experienced it multiple times. I think it's sad to see the new generation having to go through this.
Sure. I mean, again, talking about what we were talking about in part one, we were talking about some of the 90s sitcoms, and I was saying there was so much more hope for the Black community then because we had multiple sitcoms with positive images, positive Black families, and, a lot of love. And I do find that that's kind of devoid in this day and age. So, Latios, why don't you bring us into some of the more current sitcoms and those images, if you will.
Okay, so I picked four of them that we're going to talk about. These are still all stereotypes, and then as we tie it in, me, the glass is always half full with me, so I want to look at it from a positive perspective once we talk about the negatives. And we're going to talk about the four: Power, Empire, The Oval, and How to Get Away with Murder. Oh my god.
I don't watch.
She hasn't watched any of them.
I probably have only watched Empire.
Okay.
I watched some episodes of Power, and the other ones I don't watch.
Are you familiar with?
Are you familiar
The
with
Oval and How to Get Away with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get like the concept.
Yeah, you can wing it.
Okay, so well, we can go from How to Get Away with Murder. You know that's with Viola Davis.
Yeah.
This is directed by Shonda Rhimes. Is she the writer or director, Mr. King? Or both?
She's the writer.
Okay, so Shonda Rhimes, who's a Black female.
The
writer.
director is Peter Norwood.
And Peter is Norwood. So, do you know about How to Get Away with Murder?
I get the concept.
Okay. So the cool thing is, it's a beautiful dark-skinned woman, Viola Davis, in a lead role. And this show has been on about 6 years, maybe. They're about to phase. This is the last year, or either last year was the last year. I'm like 2 seasons behind.
Okay.
So basically, she's a lawyer. It starts off as she's a lawyer and
Professor.
And a
Really
professor.
not just any lawyer, right? I mean, she's top of the game.
Yeah, she's top of the game because she has her own law firm.
Yeah.
So those are already some positive images, right?
Sure, absolutely.
She's a Black woman in a lead role on her own TV show.
And she's a teacher on the show.
And she's a professor on
Yes,
on
and
this,
a
on this show.
professor.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
Yep, and she does, yeah.
Yeah, well, one thing I'm going to say, that does kind of ring true with real life, because I was recently looking for a Black doctor, and it's Colorado, whatever, but I was just shocked by the few regular general practitioners that were around town were either way out in the sticks of Colorado, or they were directors of cardiology. They were directors of they were either, way out there or, at the top of their game. So that's one of the things that I think is very true, is that when we do succeed, it is almost like just always Black excellence. So
it's required.
It is required because we have to work so much harder.
We have to work 10 times harder.
That's so true.
And now that, as a Black woman, I do experience even in present time in my current job.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my boss is like, "Why are you working?" I was like, "Why are you working?" You know what I'm saying? Like, an email will come and I'll respond, and it may be 9 o'clock, and she's like, "What are you still doing working?" I was like, "What are you still doing working?" Like, hey, I got to keep up with you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how it is.
I was 19, and I was working at a education nonprofit. Actually, I was around 25, and I had a Black boss who was the director of development, and I got really offended because I made some snide comment about sending out thank you cards, like, they didn't give us money, we don't need to do that. And she was like, "Look, you are always polite, you always go above and beyond." And she was like, "And because you are a Black woman, you have to work twice as hard." And I felt resentment toward that, but at the end of the day, she was just telling me the truth and setting my little narrow ass straight, because I just didn't know nothing. So
Speaking of Black business, and then we'll circle back into that. So I go to this Black spa called On the Go Wellness, and when I say excellence, this spa is excellence. It's in Aurora, so I have to drive way out to Aurora to go, but they are super professional. And so I thought last week my appointment was on a Thursday, and it really was on Saturday. And so I drive all the way out there, and I'm like, oh, she's like, no, you're not on the books. And anyway, I mean, I wasn't mean or rude, but I was so irritated because I was thinking, dang, I just drove out of my day to here. I'm not on the books. And I got, I was kind of mad at myself. I got my cables crossed and everything. But how she handled me was so professional. I mean, she was, okay, that's fine. We got you on there for Saturday. Are you okay? And so when I went back on the Saturday, I had to say, thank you. Thank you for being a professional. Your daughter, because it's kind of like a family business, but there's lots of other. It's all black owned, black women. It's an amazing spot. But I was saying, thank you for being professional. You handled me like any other white spa would be. You didn't handle me like, oh, she's black, so I'm gonna talk ghetto to her and be like, girl, please. And she was so professional. I said, this is black excellence. And so they're setting the tone and the trend that there are some black businesses out there that are very professional, because we can have these businesses, but we still lack in some soft skills.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean we're not trying. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But anyway, with How to Get Away with Murder, as we were saying, she was a black professional. Now, again, here goes the stereotype. She's this beautiful, dark-skinned woman, but she's married to a white man.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
And too, but that is a part of society.
It is true.
In
a
what
lot more black women are getting married outside of their race because black men have not either accepted them, or they are downgrading sometimes, or they're not available,
or they're doing the same. Because I know there are a lot of black men that like to go.
Talk about that downgrading.
I don't want to say downgrading because that's negative, but they're not like. For instance, I'm trying to think of. For example, so think like a man. Taraji P. She went with this man, great man who cooks but does not have a job.
Okay.
And so it's like,
I thought he had a job. He was like an actor or something like that.
no, he was a cook.
Oh, but so is that not a job?
But it's not. She's a lawyer.
Why does that matter?
I'm not saying it matters, but a lot, like if you were a white woman, you were in that same space.
She's smiling because we had this conversation last week, which is why I brought my daughter on the show, because I can be completely objective about this. No, really, I'm sorry, Matahji. She's not my daughter right now. but and you know what? We never got into this because I had a list of all marriages and how there's a misperception that black love and marriages do exist, and it's recent. It's like in the last couple of months that they did some research. It's upstairs somewhere, but anyhow, that's not true, because that's what's depicted on TV. There's more black marriages with successful people and a lawyer. If he's a cook, why does it matter that
I'm saying I personally don't think it matters.
Right.
But if we are going through the society and you're being educated and you want someone to meet the same portions as you.
So you're saying she settles.
Yes, it's a little bit of settling.
How is it settling?
Because there's a scarcity of black men. So to find one that is,
the same top notch or meets the same quality.
Why?
She has
why
to
does that
settle
matter?
because
why would you
it
be
matters
settling?
because maybe it matters because part of my grief, I guess, is like there are a lot of really successful, attractive black men that go into that colorism meme, think less of black women.
They do.
And will get with, I can think of NBA players. I mean, there's a lot of successful black men. Terry, what's his name?
Crews.
Terry Crews. Yeah, that have white women.
Right, but then that goes back to the big list.
And that's okay. That's okay. Here nor there. It is part of reality that for you to have somebody that matches you to be a successful black woman, you're almost going to be portrayed.
But that's depicted on TV.
Sure. But there is a scarcity of a lot of black men out there. I mean, they are
a lot of
killing
black
them.
men who are successful or have degrees.
Man,
or
it's hard to find.
I think it has risen, but I also think most of those black men too are not looking for black women.
There you go.
That's just the reality. They're not, especially if you're a dark-skinned black woman. If you are, and just look it up. I'm just saying, look it up.
And I do
A
have
lot of
statistics.
successful black men
Can
are
you go get that,
married
Mr. King? It's on the table.
out-
About marriage, it's right on the table. Go get that,
But
Mr.
also-
King.
are married
Yeah.
outside of their race or to lighter than me skinned women.
Okay.
And,
So
and
hold
not only that-
on, pause. Again, this is about images depicted on TV and film. So if you're constantly showing this depiction, and again, we remember how we listed all of these shows in the 90s and the 2000s. These were strong black families. Hang on one second. These are strong black families that they represented it. That wasn't. Not all of them, because you talked about the colorism, but these were strong black families that were represented. But now we have a lead black woman who looks like me on the film. Why did they choose to put her with a white man? Again, they're still controlling the images that we see. So that right there in and of itself is a very subliminal thing, because now we're all thinking that black men, because they're successful. Do you know, unfortunately, because I know we were going in this direction, but do you know, thank you, Mr. King, I appreciate that. Do you know that I looked up all the NBA players who were married, and I promise you, they had like at least 60 of them. All of them were married to black women. All of them, because they were talking about NBA players married to black women. And this percentage of NBA players that are black married to white women is very small. The problem is they project it on the screen. And that's, again, this is about the images. This is what I'm saying, the stereotypes is right there. You just proved my point about the stereotype. Well, this is typical. And then I went back and we talked about professionalism. I mentioned how Sister Ava.
Can I make a different point, though?
Yeah, sure.
To this is that one of the things that I talk about when I say scarcity of black men isn't so much that they aren't out there, but once a black man, black men already have a reputation of being fantastic lovers, blah, blah, blah. There's a swag around them. So, a black man, regardless of socioeconomic status, can walk into a club and things like that and have about 10 women on him of all different colors and that kind of thing. So that's where it's kind of harder in the dating arena, maybe, and that I'm not saying that's what they're trying to depict, because I actually think with How to Get Away with Murder, it's white is right. Like if you want to be with something that's good, then you go with the white successful guy, because that's what's safe. Blah blah blah.
But the interesting thing about this whole thing was she was always in love with this black man.
See, that's
throughout the show.
And what was he like?
Yeah.
And what was he like? What was he like? Did he have a job?
Yes, he was a big time detective.
Why weren't they together?
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Image. They got together. But then they broke up, and then they got together, and then he was always helping her. And I'm behind about a season and a half, so I got to see if they
get together. Maybe they get.
But
together.
I know she does die. She does die in the final season, because I haven't seen her across it, unfortunately. But we'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
But again,
yeah.
You in love with this beautiful black man, and then here's the interesting thing: is her husband was cheating. This how it all starts. How it all starts at the beginning is because her husband was cheating on her with a young woman, and it starts to a murder. And that's how you say it all started with her husband. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Ladios, I wish I would have shared this with you this last week, and maybe our viewers can go look it up. There's a great article from Denzel Washington talking about black marriage and how it is possible to have a black marriage and have your spouse support you, even in Hollywood. So maybe look that up because that was very...
Put that link in the comments, because I think that would be great. But here, this is good. The top 4 myths about black marriages. I'm just going to talk about... We never got to this last episode, but educated black women have it harder. That's a myth. And it says, what's more, black women who finish college actually improve their chances of marrying rather than lower them. Among black women, 70%. Now, this was done in January 2020. Okay, so if I can't get something current, I'll get the most recent, but this was just done, this article, and it was written by Nadra Kareem Middle. from the thoughtcode.com, and we'll put the links in there. But it says among black women, 70% of college graduates are married by 40, whereas only 60% of black high school graduates are married by that age. By Tara Parker Pope of the New York Times. The same trend is at play for black men. In 2008, 76% of black men with a college degree married by the age of 40. In contrast, only 63% of black men with just a high school diploma tied the knot. And so, rich black men marry out of the race. Okay. Tolson and Marx found that 83% of married black men who earned at least $100,000 annual got hitched to black women. 83%. 83%. Yeah. The same in the case for educated black men in all incomes. 85% of black male college graduates married black women. Generally, 88% of black men, no matter their income or educational background, have black wives.
Sure.
And so the thing is, when we're talking about this is what I'm saying. These images are projected on the screen, so people are thinking it doesn't exist.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather be comfortable seeing a black woman married to a white man who this white man cheats on her versus
or a black man that cheats
a black
on
man
her?
that, again, that's still creating the same rhetoric if it's having a black man who's married to a black woman and cheats on her?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, is people cheat, right?
Yep.
Just take that out, that people cheat.
Sure.
Okay, the only reason I mention it is because I was talking about the interracial relationship in and of itself. But
you
Don't
also
you
said
think
why?
that
Why?
being a multicultural person, can I ask?
Yeah, this started. We were talking about how the murder started was because he cheated.
But you said, why does it have to be a white man?
And do
Right.
you not think that interracial couples are somewhat of a norm in this day and age? As you know,
I'm gonna
as
tell
a
you this.
biracial, multiracial person,
I'm gonna tell you
I
this.
do feel like I see a lot of people
Did
that
you
are.
Colorado?
You grew up here, right?
That's true.
Have you been to
absolutely.
any other dynamics like the South, the East Coast?
You know, only Florida and things like that.
But in
on
the black
vacation.
neighborhoods, have you been?
You know, going through Miami and things like that.
Okay.
But it's not like I've spent time. No, absolutely
there
not.
you go.
But,
so I come from Ohio.
Uh-huh.
The high school I went to was pretty much 75% black.
Okay.
And then I went to an all black HSBCU for my freshman year.
Okay.
And I was really exposed because I've never seen such a plethora of different colors. So when I was growing up, it was black people. I mean, we didn't even have too many. I don't even think we had any Latinas or Latin, Spanish speaking community or anything of the Hispanic culture in our school. It was just black and white. Okay. So that's all I was exposed to. And when I was growing up, there was one time I seen a brother. He was a basketball player. One of the popular guys was dating this white girl, and it was like a big thing. Like, no, we don't do that here.
Hardcore, yeah.
The parents were the mother on the brother's side was like, don't worry, they're kids. It's gonna phase out. So for me, I grew up with black culture, black positive.
and being taught that interracial is bad.
No, not necessarily that, because not that didn't play on me. What I'm saying is, I didn't grow up in Colorado, so I didn't see it. When I came to Colorado, it was a whole nother world for me.
Colorado is like one of the top integrated states.
But
and always has
exactly,
been.
but and so when I came here, the men here, they weren't normal to me, because I was like, I know I'm fucking fine. And then when I had a brother he didn't even look at me twice. I was like, white men were hitting on me, and we ain't talking about throwbacks. We talking about real successful white men. I was like, what the hell is going on? So that was foreign to me. But this hub here in Colorado is very integrated.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, whoa. So if that's the dynamics you want to live in, but if you go down south, you go down south,
Sure.
you go down the East Coast.
And it's that where How to Get Away with Murder is set, because for me in California, a black successful woman with a white man is perfectly normal. In Colorado, that's perfectly normal.
Right.
And maybe in Ohio or the South, that is totally taboo.
And that's based off of what your demographics look like.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying if you're projecting that, then you're saying, how we doing on time, Mr. King? Okay,
Okay,
cool.
perfect.
Cool. And what I'm saying is that, with that said, if you just keep putting that, then you're promoting it. But then you're eliminating that black love does actually exist. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. But sometimes it's not always available. I had issues trying to date people of my own race. And again, being multicultural, it was always like, am I really of your race? So I have a white ex-husband. I have 2 little white children. I don't have any hate in my heart toward my white babies. As a matter of fact, I think they're a blessing. And I think that's America's sin, is staying segregated and not integrating and loving each other instead of, tearing down the walls and being Americans versus I'm a Black American, you're an Asian American, you're a Latin American. We all get put in these boxes. Do we have to stay there? So that's where I'd love to see is just more love. So to me, it doesn't offend me when I see interracial couples.
Right.
What offends me are like commercials where you'll see a really light-skinned black woman with a white man, and all of a sudden they have a dark black baby. Because I'm like, that don't make sense. They would have had a white baby, So those are the things that offend me, because that's
All right, we're gonna